Let's now consider the next step of submitting the candidate's CV. So here is a typical CV, but if it's not relevant to the job specification, then the client is not going to give it a second glance. The number one thing the client is looking for is, can this candidate do the job? Having just the relevant skills and experience is really a given. They're paying you a fee not just to get any old candidate, but to get the perfect candidate that can hit the ground running. Literally pull up a chair, so to speak, and just get on with doing the job. It's important that you send the candidate a registration form to complete, giving you permission to forward their CV to a prospective employer. So you first need to encourage your candidate to change their profile and 1, put why they believe they're suitable for the vacancy. 2, their track record, proven ability. As I say in the game, past performance is indicative of future success. And last but not least, a wow factor. What can they bring to the table? What can they bring to the company that's going to help the company to make money, save money, or operate more effectively and efficiently to make money or save money? Employers are looking to recruit, are always tuned into radio station Whiffin. What's in it for me? How will this candidate best serve my needs and meet my specific requirements? Let us consider 2 examples of what we mean by the expression wow factor. One of our new recruitment startups was looking for a Gemini 360 software operator, whatever that is. So he did a CV database search and came up with 5 potential candidates. The second person he spoke to said there's no need to speak to any other candidate as I'm the perfect candidate for this job. How so? Said the recruiter. He replied that the software program was his design, his invention. And then he proceeded to rattle off a 10-digit patent certificate number. The recruiter then forwarded the CV along with a copy of the patent certificate as a wow factor. The client sent back an email to say that he was on holiday but would be back in the office on Monday morning, and could they arrange for him to meet the candidate on that day at 11 o'clock. Did the candidate get the job? Most definitely. What better person to implement and train on the use of a software than the man who invented the actual software program? Another one of our startups was looking for a residential care home manager. So they advertised the position online, which we will show you how you can do so, advertise a vacancy and also search for the candidate in their candidate database. Well, they were inundated with candidates from the adverts, the CVs, which is great because they can add that to their database. But they're able to whittle it down to 1 or 2 candidates. And one of the candidates they spoke to, they asked her for her wow factor. So the first thing they asked her to do is to change her CV so that the CV mirrors the job. And then to put 1, why she's suitable for the position in her profile, 2, her track record, and 3, the wow factor. The candidate informed the recruiter that the only wow factor she could think of is that she had recently been made redundant from her last job and in many respects was a victim of her own success. She had secured a lottery grant of £170,000 to add an extension to the care home that she was working at. And they also used the funds to refurbish the entire care home with marble flooring, ornate chandeliers, bifolding doors that opened out, showing a beautiful panoramic view of the garden, new furniture throughout. As it was so attractive, people were transferring their family members to this new care home, so the revenue quadrupled. To cut a long story short, the owner sold his care home to a larger organisation, and as they had their own care home manager, she lost out. But coming back to the aspect of the wow factor, what she put on her CV as a wow factor was that she knew exactly how to get hold of the grant funding for the care home position that she was applying for. Do you think they would want to see her for an interview? I would say so. So once the candidate has amended their CV to especially include an irresistible wow factor, you then forward the CV to the client as follows. So the email can read, "Hi Bob, further to our telephone conversation, please find attached the CV of a candidate that I believe is perfect for your project manager vacancy. Feel free to contact me on my telephone number. Alternatively, I will contact you in 2 days' time to see if you'd like to see the candidate for an interview." Just a word of caution here. Sometimes you can fire off a CV and you poodle off to make a cup of tea and the phone starts ringing and you think to yourself, who's that? And when you answer the phone, it's the client. You see, the issue is even in today's current job climate, skilled candidates are very, very hard to come by, and they get snapped up very quickly. So when a client sees a good candidate, they tend to act fast. When following up on the CV and contacting the client, you can again sidestep the receptionist by simply saying, "Hi, my name is, please can you forward me through to Bob Stevens? Please, he is expecting my call as per your email." When you are through to him, you say, "Hi Bob, it's Joe Davis from," give the name of your agency. "As promised, I sent through to you a CV of the candidate Stan Hughes for your project manager vacancy." You then highlight to the client the details of the candidate's profile, why he's suitable for the role, to his track record and past performance of doing the job, and then lastly, finally, but most importantly, the candidate's wow factor. What can he bring to the organisation that's going to help the company to save money, make money, or operate more effectively and efficiently so that they can make money or save money? Now, don't come up for air or test the client's understanding. Simply go through those 3 points on the candidate's profile. Then you say to the client, "My candidate's available for interview Wednesday afternoon or Friday morning. When would you like to see him?" You would, of course, need to just double check with the candidate to make sure that they are available on that day. Now, here's a $64,000 question. How do you know that your client is even interested in seeing your candidate? You haven't tested understanding, you haven't asked the client to say anything, you've just talked to the client about the candidate's suitability, track record and wow factor. How do you know that the client's even interested in your candidate? If he wasn't interested in your candidate, he would stop you from the get-go. The fact that he's still listening to you talk to him about your candidate means that he's definitely interested in your candidate. So the client says, "Well, I'd like to see your candidate next Friday for an interview." If possible, it is always best to meet the candidate before they go along for the interview, just to make sure that they are who they say they are, and you can double check that their CV is right and they have the permission to work in the UK. As you're working from home and you do not have an office location, it is good to suss out a local coffee shop or a central hotel lobby with a warm, welcoming atmosphere, a place where you can conduct a discreet interview over a cup of coffee and a croissant. Today, even well-established agencies conduct interviews this way, as most candidates are conscious of going into or exiting the premises of a recruitment agency, just in case they are seen doing so by a colleague or, worse still, their boss. In a full training program, we'll go through how to conduct an interview and what proof of IDs you need to check. Once you have vetted the candidate, you can then arrange for them to meet the client. You know that the candidate is interested in the job and going along for the interview because they've changed their CV to match the jobs. They've changed their profile. They've put why they're suitable, track record and the wow factor. You know that the client is interested in the candidate. Usually it's because of the wow factor. Candidate goes along for the interview. Candidate likes the client. Client likes the candidate. Candidate gets offered the job and accepts, and you celebrate. You celebrate and you get paid a handsome fee for doing this. This approach flat out works, and it can work for you. Now, the vast majority of established high street agencies do not spend as much time on their candidate CV. They adopt a spray and pray approach, sending out hundreds of CVs and simply playing the numbers game, because they are targeted to make 3 to 4 placements per week due to their costly overheads. Your approach, though, is to cherry pick a strong potential candidate for the job and then get them to reformat their CV so that their CV mirrors the vacancy, making them a perfect fit for the position, which will inevitably lead to a higher success interview to placement ratio, which in itself leads to more repeat business, generates more revenue, leading to a 6-figure annual income.